Hello and welcome back to the Spiritual Sleepover, which is a special segment that we, Dayluna, and our bestie Spirit Sis do together. I think that this is maybe like our fourth Spiritual Sleepover or maybe fifth. Who knows? Because time is not real, especially when we're together, which we know because every time we hop on this call, it just feels like a beautiful vortex of fun and depth and catching up. And Herbert's here and he's a celebrity now. In case y'all didn't know, you're about to find out in this episode. So welcome to the Spiritual Sleepover. We want to thank you for being here. And, how are my two pregnant goddess co-hosts feeling today?
That must feel weird that the two people in your life. Wow, that was a big statement because we're definitely not
the only two people in my life are pregnant.
Two people you care about.
Yeah, there's no one else.
Forget your husband or
Herbert.
family.
Yeah. But the only two other people in this call are pregnant. How does that feel for you to be surrounded by
so
much
outnumbered.
energy?
My womb feels like an empty desert. Just kidding.
Oh, damn. Just kidding. Does it feel
Me and
weird?
Herbert.
Does it feel like overwhelming?
I mean, no, it doesn't feel overwhelming, but it's definitely something I think about every day. Like my two best friends are both building a baby inside their bodies. And it feels for me like a very defining energy in my daily life because I think about you both every single day. And I pray for your health. I pray for your babies. I pray for your family. So your life is a huge part of my life. So I feel it really deeply. But, I'm just holding it down over here, the non-pregnant human. And Herbert, me and him get each other for that reason.
Yeah, and also, I mean, two other girlies are joining the sleepover. So we have 5 girlies in the spiritual sleepover right now, which is kind of crazy. Because before our last spiritual sleepover, I didn't know the gender.
Yeah, that's so true. And we knew that you were pregnant, but nobody else knew listening on our last spiritual
sneaky,
sleepover.
Sneaky.
Yes. And it's so crazy. I had a energy clearing yesterday for the nursery, and I had someone who you actually know, Steffi, as well. Luana Healing. She came and she did clearing.
I love her too.
And it was amazing. But she, beforehand we were sitting and talking and she was like, I don't know what, I don't know if I should know this. Like, I don't want to, spoil anything, but I know Steffi is pregnant too. And the second that I saw her post her, wedding announcement and that she was pregnant, I just immediately was like, she's having a girl and Shayna's having a girl. And today in meditation, before she came over, she said that my baby was with her and saying what to bring. And she really wanted rose water spray. She really wanted Lemurian crystal altar, like right where her head's going to be. And she wanted like different things for clearing the space. And she said that, in this new generation, like all of the women born right now that are going to be then growing up in this new age, that it's going to be the most potent time for divine feminine energy, and that they're going to be so supported in their like feminine power, and like that these women are just powerful women and they're so supported by all of the energies right now. So like this is the time, like, and she just kept saying like, thank you for having me in this time. And then she was saying, and so you and Steffi, like I was literally sitting with both of your babies, like they are going to be so powerful, best friends, like doing all of the things for helping heal the planet. And I was just like, sobbing, but I was like, wow.
I'm fucking sobbing.
Yeah.
I'm literally
sorry. She was like,
amazing.
So she was like, so is Steffi having a girl? I shouldn't ask. And I was like, well, I think that she's
so she DM'd me. People. She DM'd me and I was like, yeah, of course you knew. She knows.
Oh, good.
She knows everything.
Good.
Yeah, she's such a positive, loving energy. And
she's amazing.
And I met her at one of your first ceremonies, your cacao and sound bath ceremonies in Ventura. So she's
in the
special.
OG days.
Wow. Oh my gosh, your baby would want rose water and a Lemurian crystal.
And the rose water she left here for me to use whenever I want. And it smells incredible. It's literally just water with rose petals in it, but it smells so fresh and pure and amazing. And I'm smell cognition. So the frequency of it just smells so good. I've never smelt anything like it. So I'm into it.
See,
I'm in full blown nursery mode, and
I'm like laughing because in my pregnancy, the only thing that smells good to me is beer. I'm not even exaggerating. Every time Andrew orders some kind of like hoppy, like malty, something that I would vomit if I had it, like, of course, I just smell it. I'm just sniffing it like every
oh my
time he gets it.
gosh.
And it actually completely calms my nausea and everything. Obviously, I'm not drinking it, but like smelling it is the only thing in my whole pregnancy that's given me any type of relief. Not peppermint,
Wow.
not rosemary, not like cocoa butter, nothing. It's freaking beer. What is that?
I don't
don't
know.
know.
Baby
Like,
wants
is my girl
beer.
gonna come out and like want to play with monsters? I'm like, I support whatever she wants, but she's like, I want an
I
IPA on ice.
I already feel Steffi's child's sense of humor, and I already feel Shayna's child's little like alien rose light being thing
and also
happening.
like demands. Like Brian's like, bam, she's already like, bring me my rose water, bring me my Lemurian crystal. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
yes,
gosh.
you just tell us what you need and we're down for it.
And I need to post a picture, but I had just had my 20-week anatomy scan, and everyone's anatomy scan is beautiful. It's the side profile, little button nose. Like Shayna, your girls was like beautiful. We saw this big button lips, and it's like just adorable. My baby was staring directly at the camera, and babies at that age, I mean, like 20 weeks, they don't have any fat on them. So all you see is eye sockets and a big jaw. And this thing looked like Jigsaw the puppet, like from the movies. And it was
From
this
Saw, from the
from
movie
Saw.
Saw.
Is that what I said? Yeah, Jigsaw from Saw. Yeah, the scariest. And I was like, I've always wanted a Halloween baby, like this is what I want. But the baby looks, I'm going to post it somewhere, like when we post this, because was it not the scariest? I literally
Yeah.
said to him out loud, I was like, I'm going to have nightmares.
Which is funny because you want that.
But she looked like Herbert, did she not? She had
Yeah,
big
no, she
100%.
eyeballs
definitely did,
and
which
the
is
freaking jaw.
hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so
Which would happen, like beers and spooky scans. And yeah, for me, definitely was very buttony nose. But I have my 32-week scan next week, and I'm so excited. I can't wait because this is when they're going to tell me the weight of the baby and like what percentile they're in and how big she is, because I'm big. And so I'm like, is baby big, or do I just have a lot of fluid in there? What's the deal? But yeah, I'm feeling really good. It's crazy because pregnancy every single week changes, and it's so hard to tell like what is my internal emotional growth, mental, spiritual journey, and like what's hormones, right? It's like so hard to tell. And honestly, I feel like that's reflected in emotional waves. And when you're on your period, it's like, okay, what is my period and my hormones and all that, and what's my emotional wave, and how are those interplaying together, how are they connected? Like I'm feeling that with my hormones, because this whole last month I was really struggling mentally with how much my body's changing, how much it's out of control, how swollen I feel, how I don't recognize myself in the mirror, and it feels just really disorienting and like overwhelming. And I was having a lot of negative thoughts around my body that I was having so much trouble like transmuting. And now this week, I've just totally switched into like, damn, my body's badass. And I love that I look puffy and swollen, and like my body's doing what it's meant to. And I'm building a baby, and I'm like, I'm just going to embrace this time because it is temporary and I don't recognize myself, but that's so cool. Like literally happened overnight. And it's crazy because we recorded a podcast where I was in one state, and now I'm recording another podcast where I'm in a completely different state. And I'm like, is that hormonal? I'm not sure. Is it just part of the journey, like for everyone with pregnancy, that nobody tells you like, oh, you're going to have 2 months where you literally hate your body and you're like, what's happening? And I like, you have to combat really dark thoughts. is that what everybody faces and just literally no one talks about? Because all I've ever seen is like, you're doing this, mama, your body can handle it. Like what I feel right now is all I've ever heard. And so I'm like, but now I want to preach that. I'm like, damn, my body's a fucking temple. I'm a goddess. Like I feel so good in my body. Yes, I feel heavy. Yes, I feel overwhelmed. Yes, I feel exhausted. Yes, I can't fucking breathe ever. But I feel really strong in a sense too of like, damn, if somebody told me you're going to have to hold a bowling ball for 9 months straight and never set it down, even when you sleep, I'd be like, I'll die. But now I'm like, I've been doing that for 7 months and here I am and I'm great. So, anyways, that's how I'm feeling with pregnancy. I'm like, what are the things that nobody fucking tells you? And because it's not like cute to talk about or empowering to talk about, it's actually kind of dark and scary, and maybe you're like in a low vibe and you don't want to press that on other people. And what are the things that are like, no, everybody feels that, you know what I
Yeah. And I've been like weary to talk about my experience because I don't want to fear monger and be like, oh, it's so bad for everyone because it's such a unique experience from pregnancy to pregnancy. But I almost wish someone would have told me specifically what I'm going through with hyperemesis, like what to expect, because I feel so isolated and so alone in this pregnancy. And I've yet to feel the magic, which I know I could get there, right? I'm like 2 months behind you. But yeah, it's been such a interesting journey of feeling almost like resentful toward people, but also being like, you're so strong and amazing as well. Like you feel like you admire every single woman ever, even if like you have a choice to not have children or you do, like uterus owners everywhere, even the cycles, like you said, like feeling our ovulation cycles and feeling our menstruation. Like we are such powerful witches, you know?
mean?
And so this pregnancy for me is I've just felt like, gosh, I wish I knew more, you know? And I'm kind of just in the fog. I can't really see the cloud. I can't see the sun through the clouds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's going
Yeah.
on for me.
And physically, like, I guess, how are you feeling with like spiritually and emotionally and physically in this journey of, having HG? I feel like you said, like people don't talk about it because they're just surviving in that mode, is what I'm assuming. But how are you feeling in those areas?
It spiritually feels like an initiation, like an ascension period that I'm purging a lot of womb stuff, which, I've had issues with my root chakra and things like that before. So it definitely feels pointed toward that area. And I will say, like, my mental health has been a little bit of trash, like recently, just based off everything I'm going through. I'm also going through a Jupiter return as we speak. Actually, I just looked it up today. Is my Jupiter is actually returned.
Oh
Wow.
my
Jupiter is I was
gosh.
remember we were talking about what we're going to talk about on the show, and I was like, oh, I have to look where Jupiter is right now, and then I just registered it's in 27 degrees, which is my natal Jupiter is 27 degrees Taurus.
Wow.
Wow.
So this transit happens once every 12 years. And if we're talking about Jupiter, Jupiter is this planet of abundance and expansion, but also it really moves things into place that feel out of place already. And so that's where like discomfort lies, is in that expansion period when you're moving from one frequency to another. And so I felt that like it's in Jupiter again, abundance in every area. It's like it's hitting every single area of my life. So I felt that 12 years ago and I was 24. Now I'm 35. I'm feeling it again. So that's been interesting. And now I'm just clocking as I'm sitting here with you beauties that this is happening in real time. So that's kind of wild.
Wow.
Wow.
That is honestly amazing. And I have to say, just from being your friend and witnessing your journey in your life, that like in this last year, but really last like 6 months, especially, it's amazing to see the way that you've been expanding and expansion. I feel like, we love expansion, and like over on our podcast, we talk about expansion all the time and how it's like amazing. But what we don't talk about is the challenging aspect of expanding. You expand in all directions. You expand in this spherical energy. Like it's when you open yourself up to be seen on a greater level, there's all kinds of different eyes on you, eyes that are admiring you, eyes that are challenging you. Like you're expanding just all together, not only towards the rainbows and butterflies side, but that full spectrum. And, that expansion is uncomfortable. Like our nervous system is wired to keep us safe and to play small for most of us because of the society that we have been raised in. And so allowing yourself to expand to that level, like it's such a stretch, even though Jupiter is like the fun planet and like the joyful planet, like compared to Saturn. But like what we don't talk about is like how much like how many feels you have when you're actually expanding in that way. So it's been amazing to see you expand like in so many levels. I'm like, bitch, you are on fire, and you have been. All of the content you create, everything that you share, like listening to your podcast, I'm like, this girl is on fire. And also expanding in all directions, like the uncomfortable side of that, being seen on a larger scale than ever before. Like it's all happening at the same time. And just being in that expansion, surrendering into it takes so much bravery and strength, but I am here for the journey. I love witnessing it in you.
Thank you so much. That's so kind. And I will receive that. It's been hard for me to receive because I'm in it right now, but I do
Yeah.
appreciate both of you seeing me and recognizing and just kind of holding space for me as I'm moving through this. And again, yeah, Jupiter is the fun planet. It's not like that Saturn return where everything just like crumbles, but Jupiter also wants to put you in the best alignment for your soul growth. When
Yeah.
you're looking at Jupiter in your natal chart, that is like unlocking everything, your career abundance, your relationships, like your goals, your dreams, everything in that manifestation center is through your Jupiter placement in what house it's in what sign it's in. So Jupiter is like, if anything feels mediocre, Jupiter is like, hey girl, we're going to twist this and we're going to throw you into the wolves because we're going to lift you up, but you have to go through it first. Whereas Saturn's like, no, we're going to drag you through the mud for years. Like, you know what I mean?
Forever and ever.
Forever. Yeah. And your
Yeah.
Jupiter's coming soon. Jupiter
Yeah.
to return in a few years. So
Yeah. And in human design, we have really similar meanings for the planets as in astrology, but specifically Jupiter, they really focus on calling it your personal law. In human design, it's like this energy that you must do it. It's like the law of the cosmos that you must expand in this energy, in this direction with these gifts or with these qualities, whatever your Jupiter placement is. And it is like a law. Like if you break your own personal law, like you're breaking like the growth that your soul's meant to go on. And so like embracing your Jupiter gates can feel just scary because once again, on the other side of that is your power or your expansion. For all of us, it can be scary to face that, to be more seen, to be more visible, to be more responsible for our mission, like all of those things. So it's really, Jupiter's my favorite planet. It always has been. I love the planet Jupiter. But yeah, my husband also, because he has such a similar birthday as you, had been going through his Jupiter return. And it's been an amazing era in his life, but also new challenges, taking on new responsibility, being held accountable in new ways to a bigger audience, if you will, like all eyes on you kind of energy. So it's really fascinating. I love getting to witness it. But I think going through it is like,
it's
okay,
so
buckle your
different.
seatbelt.
And my Jupiter's in the 11th house. So I had a feeling it was going to be like the collective, right? Because the 11th house rules all these eyes on you and sacred communities and things like that. So also because I was on this TV show on Netflix, the eyes have been on me for sure. But also, so like 220 million people saw me twerk on my skeleton, right? So like
Wow.
that's funny, but also
220
it's I
million.
know. And it's been that I've also felt that energy so strongly. And as a sensitive person, even when the first couple episodes were coming out, I wanted to hide and I was scared. And then it's like every time I open up my DMs or I'm opening up an email or even my podcast reviews, people are just disparaging me and just leaving some of the most hateful, unkind, horrible, horrible hate comments towards me, which is so crazy because it's a produced reality show. Like these people don't really know me, but it's so funny how those small like comments that are so hurtful are the ones that stand out the most. And that's something I've been trying to work on because I've also gotten a lot of love. But like, why in our heads do we always replay the negative things?
I know.
Why?
It's so crazy because it gives you that that nervous system response, right? And then it's like then you have to unwind that for a while and it just kind of sticks with you. I mean, we get so much like on such a smaller scale than that, obviously, right? But we get so many like loving, amazing comments and messages. And then we'll get, as we grow, we'll get some people emailing or messaging us some things that are just like, whoa, this is not how our community communicates with us. And it sticks with you. And then you have to take that time to really unwind it and like, okay, I'm expanding in all directions and I'm letting this negative stuff be there without needing to like feed into it or let it overtake my life. But on such a big scale where there's so many like that, it's hard to like just focus on the ones that are, celebrating you and are expanded by you and are learning from you and all of that side, because the people who leave negative reviews in general, especially from like a reality show, like honestly, I was saying this to you the other day, like it's so funny. Like I've never in my life watched a show and then reached out to somebody about it, even if it was good, even if it was positive. Like I've never been like, I saw you on this and I love you, to like somebody on the random reality show, because most people don't do that, I don't think. So the people who do, typically they're reaching out because they're pissed off and they're fired up. And so you're going to get so many more contact with people in a negative light because they're in that mode of like, it's okay to reach out to somebody that you saw on TV as if you know them and as if the edit was exactly what happened.
That's what kills me the most. Like I have
it's
no
just so
control. If it was something that I did with my business or maybe a podcast I did that someone's like, hey, I have criticism, I'm like, you know what? I'm open and I need to grow as a business owner and a podcaster. So tell me, but it's never that. It's always just like, you did this is in a game show. It wasn't just
yeah,
like a
it's not
reality.
like
It's a
they listened to
reality.
your podcast and gave you
Yeah.
feedback. It's like they watched you from like some random place in the world on a TV show and they're like, I'm going to go find her.
Yeah,
And they did.
exactly. It's so
Scary.
it's crazy. It's a lot of projection and things like that, but it's just still hurtful in some ways. Cause I'm like, you don't really know me. You're seeing a contrived version of me that I'm a character of when I was on my Saturn line, you know, because I
And
was
Totally.
and it
honestly, and to hear like your real experience of what actually happened when you were there, and then to see the edit that the producers made and then turned into a show, this is like extreme, but it reminds me of the Hunger Games, where there's like the game maker in the Hunger Games and they already choose who's going to win based on their ideas. And so if someone is actually really good or strong or whatever and they're winning, they literally manipulate the game and put like this manufactured thing in front of them to stop them, and they can literally change the entire outcome. Like that's the Hunger Games. That's not what happened with you, but I mean the way that they edit things, the
similar.
way that they cut it, it's similar. Of like they already have this predisposed like storyline that they want to tell, and they're literally using you as this piece. And so for me, this whole experience, like watching you go through it, has really been like, first of all, I love you so much. And watching you on the show, like the sweet little moments, like where you give him the crystal, even though he kicks you off. And like when you do your rap, I'm like, that is my girl right there. Like there was like these moments of like, just, I love you so much. I'm so grateful that your light is out in the world. And that felt really cool to just witness you shine in those ways. But also then the other side of that, of like watching you go through this reality TV, like old paradigm, like dark, twisted, like for entertainment, but not healthy for the people playing it, is really illuminating to me, because I don't think about that so much about reality TV show. And I do think reality TV is interesting actually, because I love observing people and I love seeing like where people's conditioning plays out. Like what's the one, the Love in the Pods one, Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Like that show is my guilty pleasure, but I know it's toxic for the people who are on it, and that it's not an accurate representation of who they are. And you're in such a public eye where then people can like reach out to you. So this whole thing, I thought like, wow, it's really interesting to see the way that this is part of the old paradigm that we need to dismantle, that we need to bring light to. And I'm super grateful for you following your, inner authority to guide you there for whatever reason is there. Like, I really believe it's like you bringing this spiritual light and truth and your voice into this like place that doesn't have a lot of light or awareness.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, when I was filming that, it was like Pluto in those last degrees of Capricorn, which has a lot to do with corporate greed and capitalism and manipulation. And basically everything I went through. So watching it back, it's like you can really see those transits playing out. And I did have the intention of going in there being like, you know what, if I can just like inspire one person to lean towards their intuition, to look up astrology or human design or these modalities that can help them as a discovery tool, as a resource, like that's one thing that I would love. And so I always set that as my highest intention for me, but my highest intention for others. And I hope somewhere out there that it did land. But anyway, we don't have to talk too much about this, but it has been like a total big theme in my life right now. And it's been wild, like just going through it like currently.
Yeah. So, okay, random question. How do people look up their Jupiter return and see when it's returning?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, Jupiter return happens every 12 years. So you can look at like your literally, okay, you're 12 years old just by multiples of 12, right? You're 12, you're 24, it's anywhere between 35 and 36, right? But you can look up where Jupiter is in your natal chart, and then you want to look up what sign it's in, and then you want to look up what house it's in. And right now, Jupiter's Taurus. It's going to be transiting very soon here into Gemini. So if you have your Jupiter in Taurus, if you were born in like 88, 89, and then do both of you have Jupiter in Gemini, or is it in?
Mine is Jupiter in Leo, and I think Shayna is Jupiter in
No, we'll have to relook.
Dana's the keeper of my astrology chart.
I know.
Dana,
you always have it like at the top of your head. I'll relook, but yeah, it happens every 12 years, and it's a huge, like I said, it's a huge expansion point, but it hits every area of your life. Of course, whatever house it's in is going to illuminate what area of concentration is the strongest, but that kind of ripples out into your whole chart because Jupiter, it could be making different, relationships like conjunctions or trines or oppositions to other areas of your life. And so those are lit up in different ways. So that's why it's just a beautiful little piece of a puzzle you have to understand. But in human design too, is it important to understand what your Jupiter gate is and how to unlock that frequency?
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. When we do a reading for someone, we always focus on the Jupiter gates. They're like our favorite thing to focus on, just because it's such a powerful energy in your chart. And like from the lens of human design, we get most of our neutrinos that are the subatomic particles that, consciousness travels through the universe, information field, it imprints onto you. Most of that comes from the sun, like 70% of the neutrino stream that we are imprinted with. But some neutrinos actually are created from Jupiter, which normally only stars create neutrinos. But Jupiter is so massive that it creates some neutrinos as well. So it's a very important and prominent energy in our chart, like that personal law, like I was saying before, and focusing on your Jupiter gates and even the line expression. That's something that we have been really diving into in the coursework that we did in our Golden Purpose Retreat, which we just got back from recently in Mexico, is like diving into the line expression and really looking at how you can maximize those energies, because they get really practical about exactly how you can share yourself in like your career life to really come into that prosperity and abundance. And if you're not doing it, it's going to be like the number one thing that blocks you in that realm. So it's such a powerful zone, but it is kind of like intimidating because we feel how much power it holds.
Yeah. And I've actually, so with Jupiter returns, I always tell people I'm like, something huge is going to happen. Either you're going to get married or you're going to start your business or you're going to have a lot of eyes on you. But then a lot of times people go through divorces or moments where things crumble because it has to set them up for that next relationship that's more divine. Right. So that's what's really important about Jupiter returns too.
So fascinating. So my Jupiter is in Leo. But so then for people listening, so like if you have, let's say every 12 years, right? So, let's say you're 35 or you're 24, easier number 36, whatever. And so you just go by the 12 years. And then when it's Leo season on that 12th year, then you can kind of assume, okay, my Jupiter is returning every 12 years when it's Leo season.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well,
Okay.
when Jupiter is in Leo, yeah, but basic,
I see.
yeah. So it's not necessarily Leo season because that's when the sun goes into Leo. It's a little complicated.
That makes sense.
But when you are having your Jupiter return, even though, for example, mine's in 27 degrees, we're getting a little more specific. Mine's at the tail end of Taurus season. But technically, as Dana said, like I've been watching you go through this the past 6 months. When Jupiter enters whatever sign it's in, so for both of you, when it enters Leo, which will be in 2026, you're going to feel that almost instantaneously. So Jupiter's
Yeah.
already working on those little ground pieces for you, that floor work to kind of launch you into whatever direction you're going to go through during that return.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Totally. It's amazing. And you know, and then it's like you have these eclipses happening too. Like what areas of the chart are those illuminating? Where's your Saturn at? You know, these are things I love to look at when people are coming to me for transit readings, but also in life. Like it's really good awareness to be like, okay, Saturn is teaching me a beautiful lesson of wisdom. Jupiter is trying to expand me here. You know, Mercury's trying to like let me intellectually understand this. Venus is trying to teach me my morals, right? So it's just like human design, where all those gates are kind of illuminating different areas of framework. So is astrology.
Yeah. Oh, I'm into it. I'm into the I'm so future focused in my chart and in, you know, with my gates and my gifts and design and stuff. But also that's a big challenging place for me to come back to the present. But I love that with astrology, the project, like being able to look into the future and see, okay, what transits are coming up and how is that going to impact you. And you can do that to an extent with human design, but it's not as helpful, I think, as astrology transits can be, of like, okay, this chapter of your life is going to be A, B, C, and D. Human design does get into, you know, your Saturn return and your Chiron return and your Uranus opposition. Like it gets into those big returns, but not so much as you can do with astrology. So I love it. I love looking at the future. I'm excited for 2026 already now, just because you said it.
I think it is. I just said that off the top of my head based off of like just math, but y'all know like I don't know math.
Yeah.
What is math anyways?
What is math? But you were talking, Dana, a little bit about the transits with human design, like you were talking about the throat stuff. Would you mind
Yeah.
talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're recording in mid-May right now. And for the rest of May and for most of June, the sun is going to be transiting through a lot of throat gates. So gates that exist in the throat center. So for the collective, all the way up until pretty much the summer solstice, or the solstice if you're in the southern hemisphere as well, then the sun will go into gate 15, which is a G center gate. But until then, before from now to June 20th, we're in all of these throat center energies. In all of these different ways, our voices are going to be illuminated. We're going to feel new ways of wanting to use our voice and express ourselves. And our voices are very, very important, obviously. But from the lens of human design, it's extremely important because out of our 9 energy centers in human design, the voice, the throat center, is the only one that is this manifestation center. So it's like everything inside of you, all of the things that are happening inside of you come out through this one road, which is your voice. That is how you externalize everything that you internally are seeking. And so when we think of our throat in that way, our ability to be seen in the world, our ability to help co-create the external world around us really shows you how powerful your voice is. So during this time, I really recommend looking in and seeing which throat gates you have illuminated in your human design chart consistently, or which channels you have, or if you have no gates at all, and to be following the human design transits and to see which new way your throat is wanting to express itself in this time. Because this is the time to be heard. This is the time to be seen. This is the time where we are really here to express ourselves freely and boldly. And that leads us into a really beautiful summer season where then we can express our uniqueness. And when we go through summer solstice, the sun is in gate 15, which is a really powerful gate in the G center, all about the love of humanity, the love of diverseness, celebrating how we're all different. So in this time, as you're listening, I hope that you can really just practice like using your voice. Where have you been holding back? Where have you been shying away? You know, some of the fears that might come up is like not wanting to talk about yourself if you're wanting to help other people transform. But like when we talk about our own self and we lead with that vulnerability, we help other people transform the most. Another fear that could pop up is a fear of being honest and wanting to kind of like filter that in this time, but instead leaning into authenticity and vulnerability in everything that you share. Another fear that could pop up during this time is not wanting to share our skills or being shy to share our talents. That's another way that we're here to be seen in the spring season. So I'm excited to hear you all and for us all to just practice really sharing our voices with authenticity and knowing that that is the most powerful way that we leave our mark on the world.
Yeah, I think a lot of times with the throat center, it's such a vulnerable center because you can be misunderstood or you can be unheard when you're trying to share something with someone. And this is the time to really, like, what does vulnerability really look like? A lot of times that looks like sharing yourself and expressing yourself and letting your voice be heard by the person next to you or the platform that you're on. You can go as big or as small as you want, but really leaning into what's really wanting to come out of me, whether that is a skill or talent, whether that is a story or, calling bullshit on something or whatever that is. It's like the real side, not the like super edited, scripted side that can empower your voice so much and just kind of be that wind beneath your wings, if you will, in this season until the solstice. So it's time. Talk it out, share it out, write it down, all the things.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so moving into the next segment of this conversation, do you guys have tea to bring, or has your tea been what you've been sharing this whole time? Like pretty much for both of you.
Yeah, mine has just been like a full therapy dupe session.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like being pregnant is so all consuming that
Mhm.
it's I read something literally this morning that was like uh pregnancy shakes up everything in your life and you don't necessarily realize that it's going to do that. Like when you go on, you're just trying to get pregnant and you're just, like, "Ooh, this is okay. I feel excited." But then the moment that you find out that you're pregnant, you're like, "Oh, and now I'm sober." Now every single thought and decision and movement that I do is in service to someone else other than me that I've never even met, and for the first few months can't even like really feel because they're so small. But I feel in like every other aspect. And so the unexpected, like literal tornado that pregnancy is, whether it's good or bad, it's just all consuming everything. And then your brain changes, which is where I'm at, where you're literally thinking about everything through the lens of like, is this going to be supportive for my offspring or not? Like, is this going to, am I setting her up for success or not, or safety or health or not? And like, I'm I'm getting into the cleaning nesting phase where I want to clean everything in the house. And I had like on Mother's Day, I was having a full blown panic attack, breakdown, cry session while Brian was working on the nursery because it was taking so long for him to do. He was doing like the wood detailing and it was taking him a lot longer than we thought it was going to take, like days versus hours. And the whole house was a mess and everything felt dirty. The dogs had fleas. Like I was literally like, I could burn the whole house down right now and it would be safer for my baby than the state it's in right now. And that's so dramatic, right? But it's this feeling of like, I found like a spot of mold in the sink and I'm like, oh my gosh, is there black mold like growing in our home? And like, is that going to be unsafe? So it's just so all consuming that, yeah, like I don't know what's going on in the news. I don't fucking know what's happening in current events. The only current event in my life is like preparing for this and being present through it and leaning through it. But then at the same time, having the awareness of like every single human alive, their mother has gone through this journey and this experience. And that's been really raw and vulnerable for me too, because I don't have a relationship with my mother, as many people know who listen to our podcasts. And so exploring that through the lens of like everything I'm feeling right now, maybe she felt, and, the overwhelm of harboring a life, like she might have felt too. And like giving that, just understanding and awareness that while you can feel alone or not understand other people's journeys, there's this camaraderie and connection that all mothers have, even if they don't have a relationship, because of the journey and how it is all consuming and how it is a tornado and how there are the beautiful highs and excitement when you're feeling kicks and you're like dreaming up who they're going to be in the future. And then when you're like barfing and think you're going to die and you want to burn your house down, right? Like there's the low lows. And all mothers, I want to say, have experienced that. And even when I go into the grocery store, like go out into the world, I mean, I don't go into the grocery store, but when I go into another store, because I have my groceries delivered, as we all know, but I've been going to stores a lot lately because I've been returning shit because it's just so many things to buy and return. But anyways, you see another mother and they see that you're pregnant, and it's like this whole inner circle of
recognition. Like we're
recognition and
in this universe together
that I have never experienced before. Like literally, I would like, you make eye contact with someone and then like, but you don't smile sometimes, like they don't smile. Like it's just so barely no connection whatsoever as you're walking through the world. Now that I'm like obviously pregnant, literally people look me in the eye and smile, and like women, like there's this feeling of like, like, how are you doing? Like, I hope you're healthy. I hope you're feeling good. Like this literally it happens in a moment where you just feel this energetic exchange of understanding and connection and solidarity and support that I never have felt before. So it's just really interesting how when I say all consuming, I mean like literally to the point of every interaction I have now, even on the podcast, people are like, how's your pregnancy? How's it going? Anyone I meet is like, it's all consuming every aspect of my life, which I'm embracing. And I don't feel like I'm losing myself in it, which I think is a fear a lot of people have. I'm not scared about that going into parenthood, because I have a really clear understanding, I think, of who I am already. And human design has been a big gift in that. So yeah, I'm in it. I'm consumed. And I'm grateful for the solidarity and like the people that I'm connecting with that I never would have before. And I'm also like, there's that side, and then there's the burn the house down side. And that's where I'm at.
That's so funny because it was Mother's Day, like 2 days ago, whatever. And I was having a really difficult episode. Like we just had this like very rich brunch and I was just indulging in it. And of course it didn't stay down because with the condition I have, I'm vomiting like 100 times a day. And so they went to pull the car around and I'm just on this bench and I have my little like vomit bag and I'm vomiting like just profusely in public, which now I'm like, it's just like a badge of honor. And this woman walks up to me and she's like, are you okay? Do you want water? And I was like, I'm okay. I'm just pregnant. She's like, I know you're pregnant. She's like, girl, I've been there. She's like, I've been there. She's like, let me go grab you water. And she like rubbed my back, total stranger. And then kept walking. And then I looked at her and I was like, Happy Mother's Day, like called after her. But I'm like just starting to visibly show. So I have had a little bit of that. But I think the vomiting, like everyone's like, oh, I know how you're feeling. And so I've experienced like a little taste of that already on Mother's Day, no less.
Yeah. Which it's like I don't know. I feel like that's unexpected, right? Like nobody tells you, like you might be vomiting and in your low, like in a low moment, and just because you're becoming a mother, like there's this frequency out there that like literally attracts other people too who have had the same experience that are just like, I see you. Like this is normal. Fuck that word. I'm so over this is normal, because it doesn't mean it's okay. Like just because it's normal to have HG, like people have it, so it's normal. Like you're not gonna die. I guess that's what doctors mean when they say it's normal now. Like it's normal means like you're not gonna die, maybe. But
my
like,
doctor says it's not normal. He's like looking at me and he's like, it's not normal what you're going through. So that makes me feel good. But my doctor, he's got to be an Aquarius. He's just like, he wears Birkenstocks and doesn't believe in lab coats. I'm like obsessed with him. But he's looked at me and said, like, what you're going through is not normal, Steffi. And I think that gave me a little bit of like solace, a little bit,
Yes. Yeah. Cause honestly, I was thinking about what is it that I want when I'm struggling? I want someone to be like, this is not normal. Like, this is fucked.
I agree, because everyone has such a different experience. Like at any point of life, like you don't know what anyone's going through, pregnancy aside. Like, and it's nice to be like, oh my gosh, that's so valid how you're feeling. Whereas someone's like, oh, I've been there, I understand. It's like, no, you don't understand. You don't. But it's like I understand that's a point of reference for people, and maybe it resonates. Like, oh, I've been through that too, and I that also is comforting. But I also like, no, what you're going through is so fucked, and like,
Yeah.
and I get it, and I'm here for you. That's all you need to say, you know?
Yes. Yes. Dana, what's going on in your life? Because we have taken up a lot of space with our pregnancy journeys in your life as well, but you have a whole other universe happening. How are you feeling? People ask me every day, when's Dana gonna have a baby? When is her daughter coming? Like literally, I get that question so much. And not that you need to answer that here, but I'm just saying in your, life journey where you are right now, in your path of just being a soul on this planet and all the things that you're experiencing, how are you feeling? Where are you growing to? Where are you vibing? What are the lessons and current events in your life?
Yeah, well, this is a personal 7 year for me in numerology, even though we're in a collective 8 year, which is a really external energy and, abundance. I personally am in a 7 year, which is that really spiritual inward, which I know that Shayna and I have the same one, actually. We have the same personal year as well. But for me, this whole year of 2024 has been deeply spiritual. Like I have been on another fucking one for the entire year so far. And that's been a huge focus for me, is like increasing my intuition and showing up and doing my Kundalini practice to like change my energy and uplift my frequency and get rid of blockages and transmute. And so I've just been on like a really deep spiritual journey, I feel like this whole year. And like for me, the recent thing that I've been really into is kithing, which is like a word that I learned from Rebecca Campbell. It's something that we've shared with our human design besties, but basically kithing is this word for it's an ancient Celtic word for merging your consciousness with the consciousness of something that can't speak. So whether that's a plant or an animal or a crystal or a mountain, anything around you, like merging your consciousness with that consciousness and seeing its wisdom or telepathically communicating or getting its medicine. And so I've been practicing that a lot this year, like especially this spring, since I've been home in the desert. It's spring here and there's cactus flowers everywhere and everything is blooming and there's birds. And so I've been spending a lot of time on my spiritual practice, being out in nature. Another big thing for me is working with the ley lines. There's like converging ley lines here where I live in the desert. And it's actually one of the reasons why I was drawn here was to be near these ley lines and the energy lines that are there. And that's where the Integradron is built on, where Giant Rock is, for anyone who knows, Joshua Tree. And so, yeah, I've just been really going on that journey with like channeling Palladians and working in my dreams and like being super on my Kundalini practice and my yoga practice and my meditation practice and going outside and kithing every single day. And it's interesting for me, the themes that I've been receiving, like the communication I've been receiving from a lot of the plants that are here in the desert, there's a lot, it's a harsh environment, right? The desert is very harsh. And a lot of these cacti have these spikes around them that have such a strong protective boundary. And then they have this soft flower that comes once a year that is cactus flowers are like almost iridescent. They're so soft and gentle and see-through and so beautiful. And the colors are so vibrant in a desert that is mostly one color. And so just the frequency of like what you learn from that, like the cactuses really show you the way that being resilient and adaptable and tough, and then having this cactus flower that blooms that is so soft and vulnerable and absolutely breathtaking in the area around you. I mean, that's been a big theme that I've been feeling in life recently. And even like our retreat that we just did in Mexico, it was my favorite retreat that we've done. And it was also the most challenging. It was really rugged and really harsh. And we were walking up a lot of stairs and it was hot. And also for me, that going through something challenging and embracing it was the thing that rises you into the most breathtaking beauty. So that's just been a theme that I've been working with a lot, like through kithing, through spending that time doing that. And for anyone listening that wants to do kithing, I highly recommend it, because one of the things that I've struggled the most with in my life actually is like having a trust for life in general. Like I feel like I naturally trust myself really easily. And I naturally trust others, like in love and in relationships and friendships. I really easily can trust people and have a lot of like good discernment there. But the one place that I've struggled the most with in life is trusting life, like trusting the evolution and greater flow of life on planet Earth, like on this 3D realm, with like moving into the new paradigm and like humans like future and the whole thing. Like that's the area where I felt the most like vulnerable, is the 3D, like feeding myself, your health and your body. Like spiritually, I feel very safe, but in a physical form, it's always felt challenging for me. And so when you're kithing, like you go out into nature and choose a tree or a flower or a plant, anything that really speaks to you. And what I like to do first is do like a quick check-in with all of the different layers of your essence. So to first check in physically, how does my body feel in this moment? Like, do I have any pain? You know, for you two in this moment, I feel like that's like such a, you know, you're going to have something new every single day of what you're feeling physically. And then checking in emotionally, how's my emotional body feeling in this moment? My mental body, what am I feeling on that mental plane? My spiritual body, like checking in with yourself on all levels, fully showing up in your consciousness and in your awareness, and then feeling your energy field around your body, which is in this shape of like a torus. So it's kind of like a donut, if you will, and it has this, it goes spiraling inward and or outward, depending on if your energy is in a more external state or an internal state. But feeling that torus of your energy, and then feeling the plant's energy and checking in with the plant on all those levels, and allowing your two energy fields to merge and breathing in that connection, and then feeling like opening your eyes, seeing, looking, taking in, like, what does this plant's medicine have to teach me? And just doing that and being really open to that and channeling, I feel like the interconnectedness you feel and the oneness you feel with nature is so healing in times where we're changing a lot, where we're growing a lot, where we're maybe expanding and it feels really unsafe and uncomfortable. I feel like the most important thing that we can do is connect back in with our unity of nature and find that trust for life and that higher flow of all of intelligence. So that's been something that I've been really strongly practicing and focusing and writing down every message that I receive. Even like the thing with the ley lines, that was something that, you guys, don't laugh, that was something a coyote told me. He's like, remember that you live here because of these ley lines, like literally go to that top of this hill over here and be there. And then when I get there, there's this like beautiful cactus flower that I went in this meditation with and was journaling. So that's what my life has been, really focused on that internal thing. I feel like something really powerful is wanting to channel through me in this lifetime. And people keep telling me that, and I have no fucking idea what it is, but I've just been getting all of this messaging and support of like things I need to do, practices I need to do, physicality things like working out or eating this food or not eating that food, or like putting this magnesium on my skin, like very specific things. And so I'm just listening and showing up and doing my part and preparing my vessel for whatever way I'm meant to be of service in humanity. But I really recommend kithing for anyone listening. It's been such a beautiful practice and so healing. And if you're wanting to increase your intuition in some way, which that's been me, like obviously Steffi, Spirit Sis, has like courses that you can do opening up your intuition. But for me, it's been a journey. Like I've had to work at it, just like when you're working out, I've had to work on my intuition. It has not been something that has naturally been there for me. And opening it up makes me feel so much more safe. And that safety is a big theme that I've been really trying to cultivate in my life. And for me, it's come through communing with nature, communing with ley lines, communing with plants and animals around me, blending my energy, and even like remembering past lives where I've done that a lot, which in a past life, like I have a spiritual teacher that is one of my spirit guides now. And in a past life, we used to work on, she called it shape shifting, but it's the same thing as kithing, where you're you're merging your consciousness with the consciousness of an animal or a plant and literally becoming their consciousness for a second and seeing life through their unique perspective. And doing that, it's so interesting how it actually empowers you because you get out of your own fucking way. Like, I feel like our egos can just hold us so strongly in our story and our victimhood and our shit and whatever. And for me, that creates a lack of empowerment and a lack of safety if it's out of balance. Then for me, like communing with other forces actually makes me feel more emboldened because I know that I'm not like alone or on my own journey or in that victim, like separation, scarcity mindset. So that's what I've been doing alone in the desert as I'm meant to be, I guess.
I've been feeling called to that too, but I didn't know anything about kiving. So it's so funny. Right before this phone call, I'm growing a dahlia in my backyard. And I've been talking to the plant. And I will say, I think even just beyond a metaphysical level of connecting with consciousness of nature, being outside and being present, like just the basic level of being outside, hearing the birds, seeing the trees, the life around you. Yes, it helps your intuition, but it helps your soul. So whenever I see, Dana, you're like beautiful videos, Earth Mama, like in interweaving in the cactuses and like seeing all the beautiful things that you do every day inspires me because I'm sitting here like rotting on the couch, like wanting to do that. But every time I just step outside for a second, it's like, wow. And so I'm definitely going to take those tips into kiving into consideration because I've been feeling a call to that too.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I love that. And I love the reminder and the message of like setting yourself aside and connecting with these other energies that are available to us literally everywhere around us, because there's all this energy constantly around us, whether we're acknowledging it or not, whether that's a crystal or the walls of your home. Something that I've been really leaning into with preparing our house is connecting with like the energy of the walls, and like kind of Luana Healing Lisa, she gave me the wording for it, but she was calling it coding, where you like connect with the sacred geometry and the ones that are resonant and the ones that you're wanting support on, and you're like literally energetically connecting with that in the frequencies of the energy around you. And that's definitely something that I've always done, but I didn't know was a thing, where you just sit and you literally feel, okay, what energies are around me. And I've always kind of likened it to Qigong, where like I'll move my hands and just intuitively with the energy and like code it, I guess. But doing so with your like what you're saying with that Taurus of like seeing your energy, like are you in a state that is wanting to externalize or internalize, and then connecting with those frequencies. Like there's energy around us all the time, and I think that a lot of people feel like I have to become an expert, I have to take a course, I have to whatever, and like you literally are God, and you can alchemize
Yes.
the energy around you and connect with it at any state, at any point throughout your day. And it just takes that intention, that awareness, that stillness to really listen and like receive and tap into the frequencies around you, and then either like commune with them, like you said, with this kithing, or alchemize and program, like I'm talking about with my hands and the energies around me that I'm wanting to maybe transmute or change. And so it's just really fascinating, but I'm into it all.
And I have felt for a long time like if only people could remember that this tree is God, and that this flower is God, and that this crystal is God, and that this mountain is God, and that I am God, which means I am this tree, and I am this flower, and I am this crystal, and I am this mountain. Like if only we can remember that, like that's going to be the thing that changes the world in the way that it's meant to change. And so I just feel like it's so healing. And these are such basic things that it feels like we shouldn't have to remember to do. We shouldn't have to practice them. Like they should just be natural. But it's honestly like reminding ourselves that out of all of the things that are happening, the thing that is the most important is awakening to your own divinity, awakening to unity, love, awakening to the fact that everything around you is sacred and that you have this beautiful interconnectedness with all of life. Like I feel like those things are just so important if we're going to change our capitalistic society, if we're going to change like the way that our world thinks and sees things. And so that practice of kithing, I just feel like is one really easy tool. And like we did it with our besties. We just showed a picture of a rose or a picture of so that works too. If you're feeling like called to a specific animal, maybe you have a dream about an animal or a tree or a flower or with a dahlia. Like if you're listening to this and just hearing Spirit Sis say dahlia, like if that perked something for you, I recommend go get a picture of a beautiful dahlia or go to a flower shop and look at one or to a garden and do this practice of communing with that dahlia and see what that message is. I mean, I've gotten so many messages about sacred geometry, about colors and the power that colors have over our body. And, so there's so much to explore there. And then doing it in besties, hearing everyone else's messages that they got from the same picture was like so inspiring. It's amazing how we're so much more talented at these things than we realize. And when we have some practice to do together that sort of has like a form, something that we can show up and actually practice with, it just unlocks like this whole nother layer of beauty. So that is something that in this spring, I think is really fun to play with. And I invite you to do the same. And I think now we're in the third segment of this as we're wrapping up this spiritual sleepover. Spreading love and spreading cheeks is our theme song, bringing it back. So this next part, we want to play a game, which this is kind of a game, but it's also for like, I'm going to propose for everyone listening at home, something super fun. I think is fascinating to get to know people deeper. And my two besties here have done this before, but I'm hoping they forget the second parts so it can still kind of be a game for them.
Yeah.
And the way that it goes.
We don't remember.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to start with you, Steffi. With this game, you're on the spot. You're in the hot seat. Welcome.
Ooh, I'm ready.
Okay, so this is how the game goes. There's 3 questions. The first question is, what color are you drawn to right now and why? The second question is, what animal are you drawn to most right now and why? And the third is, what body of water? So we'll start with the first one. What color are you most drawn to right now in this era of your life? So not necessarily your favorite color always or something when you're a kid, but right now, if you really just feel, there's no right or wrong answer, but what color have you been the most drawn to recently in this era and why?
I would say like an emerald green, which is so different than any color because I'm like such a pink, purple girly. Like I've always loved that. Now that I'm having a daughter, I'm leaning into that. But no, like a deep, dark green. And I'm wearing it right. I didn't even realize it. I'm wearing this like dark emerald green color. No, I have been. And then even seeing my dahlia like sprout before it turns into this beautiful pink color, it has this like green. And it just seems like just a color of growth and like stability in some way. So that's why I'm drawn to that. But that's only been recent, like within the past week.
Amazing. I love it. Okay, so growth and stability, that you just feel that richness there, that grounding.
Yes.
Love.
Richness,
okay.
for sure.
Richness. Okay, the second question is, what is your favorite, or should we do that you guys both together?
Yeah, do Shayna next. Yeah.
Okay, Shayna,
efficient.
what? That's true. What
projector ass efficiency?
What color are you most drawn to right now in this era of your life?
Yeah. So I feel like it's the same that I've always been drawn to, which is interesting because I'm wearing a lot of colors right now. And I'm really wanting to wear a ton of colors ever since I've been pregnant, which I've never done my whole life. But I'm really drawn to white. I'm drawn to white right now. I want white walls. I want white couches. I want white. I'm buying a lot of white dresses right now and white clothing. But I'm just really into white everything, always have been. And I feel like I'm really drawn to it because of it just feels really like clear and open and no opinions, if you will, like no,
Like
not
an open
trying
slate.
to, yeah, an open slate and not trying to like put any uh projections onto anything. Like it's just this open, clear space. And then of
So
course you
like
can add color to
neutrality.
it. And you can add, but then it's like so expansive because you can add
Mm.
literally any color to it and it's going to complement it and it's going to be supported by it. Um, it just feels like it's so expansive. White feels expansive to me.
Mm.
And so, yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying
I
to
love
find that.
that. And for everyone listening at home, I want you to answer this question too right now. What color are you most drawn to right now and why? I'll give you a second to think about your answer because it's important. Make sure you remember why. Maybe even write it down on your phone or pause this and write it down in a journal or come back to this. Okay, next question. What is, we'll start with you, Spirit Sis. What is the animal that you're most drawn to right now in this moment and why?
Ugh, my brain went all over the place. Like I wanted to pick a few. I've always like in this past year, I've really been drawn to elephants. And I've just because they're so intelligent and they never forget. They have this memory. They're very nurturing. They're soft. They have this like strong trunk. And I love watching little
Mhm.
baby elephants play. And they're really like they're childlike and sweet and innocent. And I love just mama elephants. I've been drawn to that, but I've also been drawn to black crows because that's
Oh.
I've been seeing a lot of them. I've also heard, so it's something about intelligent animals that have a bad rap or
Mm,
like don't are misunderstood. I'm feeling
mm.
misunderstood from a lot of things going on. And like black crows, people are like it's an omen of death. And I'm like, no, I think actually black crows are really smart and beautiful and it's a great sign of transformation. So I mean, that's of
Oh.
course, man, Jen. I'm like, I have to pick both, but I don't know, kind of an elephant crow hybrid anamorph.
Or like a crow riding on the back of an elephant. They're like
Exactly.
together.
Exactly.
Okay. I love it so much. Okay, Shayna, what animal are you feeling most drawn to recently?
Yeah, so in the past it's been birds, always been birds. But recently I've been really drawn to squirrels. And I've been really connecting with squirrels. I don't know why. They've just been popping up in my life. We had a squirrel roommate in Mexico and it was a little baby and it fell and it hurt itself and it peed and I like cleaned up its pee and we like saved it and then it found its mom and breastfed. It was so cute. And then I've just seen a lot of squirrels. We have really sassy squirrels here at my house. Um, and they're not like the cute kind ones that we've encountered in Mexico. They're the stand in a tree and like shake their tail at you and like talk and get really up in your grill. So I'm I don't know why I'm drawn to the squirrel right now. I think that energy of getting prepared, of feeling grounded, like literally on the earth, like birds. I was always drawn to birds and they fly, right? And now I'm drawn to
Mm.
squirrels and they're landlocked, but they're also jumping around and going from place to place and gathering supplies and storing up, And so and they're fast as fuck. Fast as fuck, boy.
Fast as fuck,
They
boy.
they they are, but also like for what reason? Like, do they need to
Yeah.
be half the time? No. So they're a little chaotic.
But do you
Um,
like that about them?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
you
I don't
do.
think that my ego mind, like my ego mind of like, this is going to have a meaning of like who I am or something later would be like
Uh-huh.
squirrel. But like right now in my life,
No,
I'm
yeah.
really drawn to
Objectively.
squirrels. Objectively,
Love it.
yes.
Great. And everyone at home, I invite you to answer this question too. What animal are you drawn to most right now? You love the most right now, and why? And the why is super important. So make sure you write down or think about why are you drawn to this animal? What do you like about it? What does it symbolize to you? Okay. And the third and final question is we'll start with you, Spirit Sis, and we'll go to Shayna. I feel like I'm the game show
I know
host
you're so good
person.
at it.
Thank you so much. A lot of Leo placements in
I
my
was
chart.
about to say Leo.
Okay, so Steffi, what body of water are you most drawn to right now as your favorite, and why?
This is so, so wild because I've been doing this meditation called Safe. And because I felt so I've just felt like I needed safety. And every time they ask me in this meditation to go to my safe place, normally I would go to like the beach or something like that. And I have been in this wooded area with a beautiful lake, and it's serene, and you can see like the reflection of the trees in the lake. And I'm always in the middle of the lake floating, and it's always really
Mm,
calm and really soft, but it's also crystal clear waters and it's fresh water. And now my screensaver that changes every day, it's a picture of a lake surrounded by woods and a mountain. I'll show it to you after I'm done. But like that's literally today. It just
wow.
changed. But that's always what I've been. And I think growing up in Michigan, lakes is just a huge part of my childhood. Like diving for zebra mussels and grabbing cool rocks and taking them home. And something about the serenity of being in a wooded area and feeling very safe and like cumbersome, like surrounded by that feels really good.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, Shayna, what
Yeah.
body of water are you drawn to most right now?
Okay, so this is weird because it's not like a body of water, but it's water, I guess. Would be like a not like a waterfall where it's like rushing water, but like a trickle, like a water trickle, or
Yes.
like a pouring, like almost like when you pour a glass of water and that like
Mhm.
little stream,
Sound.
comes out, and like the purity or the clarity of like and the directness, but also like it's enough to fill your cup kind of vibe. It's enough for that trickle to come through and be feeding whatever it is. Even like when you water a plant, like with the watering spout, like that water that comes out, like
Mm.
so purposeful, but also uncon- uncontrolled, but yet intentional and enough, kind of like the feeling of
Like
everything is
not
meant
too
to
much.
be.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like everything is meant to be, of like it's this stream that isn't overwhelming, that isn't trying too hard. It's just this, is if it's as if like pouring a water spout, but like it just continuously flows. That's what I'm really drawn towards. um
Okay.
I love
so
it.
almost like the sense of everything in its due time, but
Mhm.
like enjoying the what is there right now.
Okay. I love this answer. It's so
Read
interesting.
us for filth, Dana. Tell us what our future is.
And everyone listening at home, I want to give you a second to make sure you write down what body of water are you most drawn to right now and why, because it all has a significance. And next comes the psychoanalysis of your answers, which I love. So the first thing, the color that you're most drawn to right now represents the way that you feel about yourself in this new era that you are in and how you see yourself in this new phase of who you are becoming currently. So for you, Steffi, you said emerald, and it is this energy of growth and stability. That is how your subconscious sees yourself actually right now in this new era. That is who you are becoming. And for you, Shayna, you said white. And so it feels expansive and neutral, like endless possibilities, but also clear and open. So that is how your subconscious feels about you in this new era that you are in, which I love that. How do you guys feel hearing that interpretation?
Hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hopeful.
I mean, it's a really cool thing because it's like your subconscious is beyond your awareness. If it wasn't, it would be your conscious. Anything that is subconscious is something you actually don't know about yourself. So that's why
So
our
true.
dream world or something like this is really important because we're obviously all in the business of trying to make the unconscious conscious in our lives, but there are aspects of you that you don't even know of yet. And this is like, a game to help you sort of get a peer into that. So while your mind might have all these anxieties or whatever it is, your subconscious right now actually feels about in your life, Steffi, that this is going to be your era of growth and stability. And for you, Shayna, of expansiveness and endless possibilities, but a neutrality there, a clearness there, no expectations, and just complete openness. And that is the energy that you're embodying in this next chapter.
Yes.
I love it so much. That's
Love.
okay. So the next thing, the animal that you're drawn to right now represents on a subconscious level what you are desiring in a partner or what you want in your partner. Romantic partners specifically, actually.
Weird.
And so for you, Steffi,
Deaf.
you said elephants because they're intelligent and nurturing and soft, but they're also really strong. And so that is what you value in a partner, that softness and childlike play and wonder, but also a strength and this really strong intelligence. Like they see things in a deeper way. They get things in a deeper way. That's also why you were drawn to the crow. And I kind of think that you threw in one about yourself there too. Like my partner is the elephant and then you're the crow, kind of like misunderstood, but you have this like intelligence and this magic about you that you really love and you really value and that you hold true. And that the crow and the elephant, the thing they share in common is that they're these incredibly intelligent animals that see life in a much deeper way than other people understand. So that's what you're drawn to right now in a partner and what your subconscious is desiring. I loved when you were talking about like nurturing and soft, but like strong and sturdy.
That is Andrew to a T.
I know. I
To
totally
To a T. And
agree.
childlike and fun, but intelligent. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
That's
strong.
crazy.
Yes, I love it
loved
so
it.
much. And then for you, Shayna, you said the squirrel
Sassy
because
squirrel.
it feels earthy and productive, like getting prepared and like on the earth instead of up in the sky. It's like getting prepared, getting organized, making all the things happen. That productivity, getting all of that stuff is what you really desire in a partner right now, but still kind of fun and playful and sassy and jumping around and not too like landlocked in, but still getting organized and getting prepared. So
Yeah.
how does that resonate for you?
No, that definitely, I'm like, I was having the panic attack because it was taking Brian so long to prepare our nursery, right? Like, I'm like, let's get it done, right? But no, Brian has always been the grounding force in my life. He's so grounding, he's so chill, he's so accepting, and he's also hilarious and sassy um and just fun to be around. But definitely I'm like, let's speed this up. But maybe that's because I'm combating my control and learning how to release control. And maybe that's because I'm anxious AF of like, do we have everything? Have we thought of everything? And Brian's like running around and getting it all done. Um, so yeah, that really does resonate. But I'm like, it's funny that this is the animals what you desire in a partner. It's like thinking now of a squirrel in like a sexual way, like romantic way. I'm trying to go on a date with a squirrel, and Steffi's trying to like
Ride an elephant.
ride an
elephant.
with
She's
a crow on her back.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so the third thing, the body of water represents your sexual energy in this current era of your life. So for you, Steffi, which is interesting because your sexual energy doesn't have to be used on sex. It can also be used on creativity, and it can be used in a romantic way, but it also can be sexual energy, Shakti energy, life force energy that is running or charging your own life, being that sacred spark or that fuel. And for you both, your sexual energy right now is working on creating a baby in your body. So you guys have really, a very brand new journey with your sexual energy in this life, becoming a portal to deliver life. So this is a really interesting question to ask you too at this moment. But for you, Steffi, you said that what you're desiring to use your sexual energy on is this, to create this energy in your life that is calm, that is soft, that is clear, that is healthy, that is serene and safe. So some people might be drawn to, when you ask them this question, like the wildness of the ocean. And like, that's what they're wanting to use their sexual energy on in this era of their life. But for you, your subconscious is wanting your sexual energy to feel completely clear, peaceful, safe, healthy. And I feel like in your relationship, that is where you are, you know, that your relationship is the safe place for you to feel really stable and really calm. Like there's literally no turbulence. It's crystal clear clarity. And that feels really safe for you. And that's what your sexual energy needs in this era of your life as you're building a life in your body.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you said
Yes.
sexual energy, I was like, oh man, oh man. I haven't thought about sex in a long time.
Well, you're using your sexual energy in a huge way right now in your life. I
Yes.
mean, in a whole
Yeah.
new transformation.
Well, and even thinking about like with business and your creative projects, like wanting that like serene, safe,
Loading on your
chill.
back instead
Yeah.
of just coursing through, or
So true.
like a lot of movement, like you're more of this like stillness with
In
that
this
creative
chapter.
sexual energy.
That resonates for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So for Shayna, you said a trickle stream in your sexual energy, not too much, but just enough, just the right, perfect
Just the
amount.
tip.
Because all things should be in the right timing, and you shouldn't have too much right now in this moment. And that you really want your sexual energy to feel very purposeful and intentional, like exactly as it's meant to be, instead of pushing it or forcing it or anything like that, which I also think is really interesting. I mean, you even talked about the water coming from a spout that you're watering a plant. And it's like this very intentional, like pouring that sexual, like not too much, not, you know, overdoing it, but the exact, like sacredly, divinely led right amount to nurture whatever it is that you're doing.
But actually pouring the spout, right? Like actually filling that glass of water, actually the action that is required with this in like creativity, right? Like with Dayluna, and intentionally like, okay, we're going to be setting up content for my maternity leave, and you know, in that creative zone of like, okay, it's just the right amount, I have the right amount of time, it's
Can't
just going to
overdo it.
flow. Yeah,
Right.
can't overdo it. It doesn't feel like rushed and chaotic like a waterfall might. It
Right.
feels like very intentional and pure and like easy, just like pouring out. And I do feel that in my sex life too. Like I have, and I've talked about on our podcast a bunch, like, you know, I've had a lot of sexual blocks in my life where sex is not a big thing that I'm focused on. But lately in my pregnancy journey, I have had the highest sex drive I've ever had. And it is like, it's not like a struggle to have a libido. It's not like something that I'm like thinking about like I should, or you know, something that feels like chaotic. Like it feels very just easy and natural and nice, and just like, you know, just like that stream. So
Mm-hmm.
that really does resonate. And I've just been fully like, okay, what leaning into this is exactly what it needs to be, and not being like, okay, so now I have to do this every single time, and I have to like, you know, past pregnancy, I have to keep this energy going, or you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I definitely resonate with the feeling of like intentional creativity,
Mm-hmm.
um but taking the
And
action
like,
of like, it's easy to take that, it's easy to fill the glass of water, and it
right.
feels like
And you don't need as much as you think
soft.
you do to
Yeah.
nourish it.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh,
It's so interesting.
I
Like, just to
love
give you guys some context of like this only works if you don't know the question you're really answering, like the deeper
it.
thing, because otherwise your mind
Totally.
gets involved.
Mm-hmm.
But like the last time that I did it was a long time ago. But for the water one, I was like, I'm drawn to the waterfall, because when you're at the base of the waterfall, it's so powerful. It feels like it charges your entire body up, and you're completely like revitalized, and you're just brimming with this life force energy that is like so powerful and so strong. And so like the opposite of the trickle of what Shayna was saying. But like it's interesting, like you know, to be able to ask these questions with people. I love doing this at parties with friends when I am invited, because I'm a projector. When I'm not invited, this really doesn't work too well. So note to all projectors. But I think it's just a really fun, interesting way to look at your subconscious, and then you can see, you know, your interpretation of it or not. And this is, as you can see, when you kind of look back at the interpretation, saying why it's your favorite color or why it's your favorite animal or why it's your favorite body of water right now is really important because it's going to mean something different to everyone. Like, for example, a waterfall could be like, it's chaotic and loud and crashing for one person. And for the other person, it can be like, it recharges you and makes you feel like a spiritual goddess, you know, like more than anything else. So the why is super important, but that was just a little psychoanalysis game that I think is really fun. Thanks for being such open books.
Thanks
you
for
too.
Oh, I love those
hosting.
games. I used to seek those out on the internet when I was bored, like just wanting to know more about myself psychology wise. Okay, but
Mhm.
Dana, you didn't really play the game, so I'm going to ask you a
Yeah.
couple questions now, or we can just
Okay.
do a quick little something. I actually have to plug. So this is from the card game called Hella Awkward. It's my friend from college, Brittany. She's amazing, and she made this game in the pandemic because she was bored and like wanted to ask, like her brother and her wanted to ask questions. So she made this. It's a small biz, Black owned and female ran. So go support her. But anyway, I just pulled, there's like 5 different categories. So I just pulled one. Do you want me to ask you a few and you can choose which one you want to answer? Do you want me to just ask you one?
Just ask me one, I think.
Okay. Tell us about your worst date.
Oh my
This took a
God.
turn.
You asked me, and then this was the juiciest. Okay. Unless you
I
want me
want
to
us
ask
all
you
to
another
answer
one.
this because I want to know Steffi's too.
Oh yeah, mine's
Oh my
bad.
God.
Or you can answer, okay, I'll give you an alternative, or you can answer, it's a little bit of a cop out, but which actor should play you in a movie about your life? Boring.
Oh.
Yeah, but way
Um,
easier.
I definitely choose Scarlett Johansson to play me because I love her and she's so hot.
Yeah,
And
and
my
you guys look a lot alike, I
thank
feel
you
like,
so much.
too.
Well, just because we're blonde and blue eyes, but and voluptuous.
Voluptuous, but
Oh
also
my
voluminous.
Um, but my worst date, when you say date, I think like date, like you're going out on like a first date or second
Yes,
date. Like,
100. Yeah.
okay, easy, no question. It's immediately I know the answer to this. There was this guy named David.
Oh, we're so
Play-
names.
I better say the
Because
I
I
don't
just
even
name.
called.
know. I don't know
So
his
shocked.
last name.
He's listening to
literally
every podcast. You know, he's
no,
obsessed with you.
he is definitely not listening to this podcast right now. I'll tell you that. This is a low point in my life. I was going on this date with this guy, and then I knew he wasn't right for me on the date, but I was honestly just kind of like in a desperate era. This is like I was like 19. And we go back to his house and he has like all of these Hooters awards on his entire wall. Like the entire wall is covered in first place wing eater competition at Hooters. And I was like, first red flag. Like it wasn't the first red flag. It was like the fifth, maybe. For me personally, like, do I like this
There were like
person?
plaques or trophies. What
They're
were they?
plaques, like
Like hung on the
like a
walls?
gold medal. Yeah, but it was like the entire wall was filled. And I was like, geez, how many wing eating competitions have you been in? And Hooters is like so proud of it in his living room where you sit down. Like instead of having like art, he had these like Hooters plaques. And I was like, I'm in the wrong place. What am I doing with my life? And then yeah, there's the night continues. Basically, I was so not into it, but I was such a people pleaser at that moment that I didn't know how to get out of it. And so I texted Shayna and was like, SOS, like I'm on this date and I need to get out and I don't know how to just communicate my needs like a regular human. So like I need you to call me and pretend like it's an emergency so that I can have an excuse to leave.
Which,
so I text
by the way,
Shayna.
she just said SOS, and I knew all of that.
Yeah,
context.
we just knew
This
because we
is
were
so
in that
Sex in the
era.
City of you guys.
I know.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm laying next to him and then she calls and her voice was so convincing. Like, Dana, I'm at this party and like, there's all these like creepy people here and like, I need to ride home right now. And I was like, okay, I got you, baby girl. I'll be right there. And then I like hung up like, well, sorry, gotta go. My friend's at this party. She needs me to pick her up. And then he like got super concerned because he heard like her voice over the phone. And he was like, I think I should go with you to like protect you guys. I was like, no, I've definitely got it. He's like, she said there were a lot of creepy people there. I'm like, she was probably exaggerating. He's like, it didn't sound like she was exaggerating. And then his other friend heard and he was like, I'm going to come too. And I was like, no.
I had gone
Shayna was
on
dating that
dates
guy.
with his friend who
The
I
Hooters
wasn't into
gang?
him either.
They
And
all lived together and were Hooters competition winners together.
so the scenario turned into like plan project save Shayna, and like this guy who'd been on 2 dates with me was like so concerned for my health and well-being, and Dana
Yeah.
got
Eventually
out
I
of
just
it.
I had to be like, you guys, I don't need you to stop. Like I'm going on my own. But it was just like one of those moments I got in my car to drive away and I thought to myself, you got to get your shit together, girl. This ain't it. So it was
Yeah.
more like a me thing than a them thing. Like no offense to people who love eating chicken
I
wings at
love
Hooters.
Hooters
Like
wings. I just have to say, like, honestly, I grew
I've
up
never
eating
had
them.
a Hooters
Oh my
wing.
gosh,
me neither.
they're fantastic. I have to say, like,
I
that
don't
wouldn't
like
be a red
chicken
flag for
wings.
me.
Oh,
I've never
really?
even been into a Hooters.
Okay,
Me
we have to
neither.
go. They have the
I've never been
best
to a
tater
Hooters.
tots too.
I feel like this is a Michigander thing.
Yeah,
Of course, like I said, if there were plaques at a wall of Hooter, I would be like impressed. I'd sit down. I'd probably be like soulmate energy for me.
Stop.
I love Hooters.
I would
Love Hooters.
DoorDash some Hooters just to try the food, but like I'm not going into that
Do
frequency.
you
I don't
think that Hooters has a girl wearing the Hooters outfit that comes and door dashes you? Like gives you
No.
your food?
No, it's some guy
Oh.
named Frank in a Prius.
Yeah,
Oh.
like drink some of your soda.
Okay,
Okay,
that was
Okay,
my
can we do
worst
another
date.
question? I'm like, let's each answer one. That feels good.
Okay. All right. You want me to ask you a new one, Shayna?
Yes.
And yourself, I really want your answers.
Okay. What's something about you that no one else would believe? Ooh, that's kind of a hard
This is
one.
a question for Dana about me.
Oh, I know. I know
Yeah,
right
'cause
away.
No,
I don't
you
have-
have to
I
answer
don't
it,
have
Shayna.
a memory.
Okay, or
I
the
don't have
other
a
one I just
long-term
pulled.
memory.
Again, I
Oh,
these
I
are
can
getting-
think of one actually, maybe.
Okay,
it.
or
No,
I can
no, I
ask
think
you.
first card. I think first card. You got to just roll with the universe's
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
divination.
pulling them randomly.
Dana, correct me if I'm wrong.
You do.
If this is not the one that you're thinking of. But that I'm a huge like sci-fi nerd. And
I was gonna say
like
that too.
literally seen every Star Trek, every Star Wars, every Stargate. Every like literally every sci-fi thing that's ever existed, I've seen it and I'm into it and I'm all about it.
X-Files.
X-Files. Yeah, all of the science fiction genre. I'm a huge
Like we're
nerd.
talking the nerdier the
Nerd.
better.
Doctor Who, seen it all, into it all, can't stop, won't stop, because it just expands your perspective on what's possible in life and in the world. And so I just feel like I want to live in that place versus real life place. Is that the one that you were thinking of, Dana?
It wasn't, but that's a great one.
Oh,
I was just
what's
gonna
the
say
other one?
I was just gonna say in general, like the fact that you come from like this tiny little desert town, like in the middle of nowhere, where like you guys were just watching Mad X-Files near Area 51. Like I feel like that when I tell people that you're from the middle of nowhere desert, they're like, what? Because they just I don't know. People don't
Yeah.
think that when they meet you. Like nothing about you makes you seem like you're from like a really small desert town
Tiny,
where
tiny
like there
town.
was like bombs and military and aliens, I think.
And Christians and Mormons and meth heads. That's
Mhm.
it. 3 categories. And you had to pick one.
Yeah, I
picked
feel like that's
Christian.
little known fact.
Yeah, little known fact. Tiny, like literally tiny freaking town. One street that goes through the whole town. That's my answer. Not as fun and spicy as Dana's.
I know. Well, there was
because,
another
like,
one I pulled that was if your identity could remain anonymous, would you go to a sex party?
Oh,
So that's your question, Steffi.
Scorpio. Well, I wanted to answer the worst date one because I got a good response, but I don't want to double dip.
Please. So
No,
yes
double
to the
dip.
answer. Would you go to a sex party if your identity? Maybe if I became a different like avatar of
Body?
someone else. Yeah, then yes, I would go to a sex party.
Ooh,
Like you
that's
know
cool.
what I mean? Like if I wasn't me, but I was experiencing it through them. That's a sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
mix of the two.
Literally.
So, in a
Dude.
sci-fi alternate reality, yes,
That's a
I
kink for
want to go
sure.
to a sex party. But like as Shayna, as myself in my married life, building a baby, like no, I'm good. But like I want to experience that through someone else. It sounds like fun.
That's amazing. That's yeah, for sure a kink. We'll explore that later.
How do you fulfill that kink? No one knows.
Okay, I'm gonna do
AI.
the worst date one, and then I'm gonna add one last one, all three of us. It's a short one to
Perfect.
answer so we can kind of cap this up. But my worst date, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. But basically, it was my second date with this guy. I'd kind of met him out because I was a server at this restaurant and the sister restaurant. We all went out and met each other. And him and I were like making up stories, like fake British accents, like we're Ken and Bobby from New Zealand, and then like we're swing dancers. And we were like, it was so fun and flirty and whatever. We had such great chemistry. And so we went on the second date and he takes me to this bar and we're like having a blast. We're just like talking and the energy is great. And he's so handsome, whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to run up and go to the bathroom. So I was waiting in line for the bathroom and he walks up to me. And you know how sometimes in the bars too, it's like you're just waiting with like 10 women and it's like in a dark corner and it's like whatever. This was in Santa Monica. He walks up to me in line and he's like, I couldn't wait to do this. And he like pins me up against the wall and like grabs my face and just like kisses me. And like we just start like violently making out like right there. And then he pulls away and he's like, I just couldn't wait a second longer. Like I had to do this. He's like, but I'll wait for you after the bathroom. And all the girls in line were like, oh my gosh, like this is true love, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like on cloud a billion, right? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's obsessed with me. He's in love with me. So I go to the bathroom, come back out. He's nowhere to be found. And I'm like, okay, weird. I wonder where I'm not going to say his name is B. I'll say Ben. Wonder where Ben is. And so I'm like sitting on the couch, like his drink is still there. I'm like, okay. Then I end up seeing like a few different friends and they like come in and they're like, hey, Steffi, like, I'm like, have you seen Ben? Like, and they're like, we saw him outside, like smoking a cigarette, but he'll be back in. I'm like, okay, sure. An hour goes by. 2 hours goes by. Ben is nowhere to be found. So we decide like, we're just going to go to another bar. I go to another bar and I see Ben making out with another woman at a different bar.
What?
Wow. What the
yeah.
Is
And
he
then
like
he just
a
like
serial passion kisser?
kisser,
well,
bathroom
apparently
bar
it was
kisser, the
apparently it was
bathroom
his,
bar bandit.
I know, apparently it was his ex.
Did
So
you talk to him? Were you like, what the hell,
no,
dude?
because they were like, that's his ex. It's messy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, he just abandoned me on a full blown date. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, it was crazy. But also, I kind of replayed our conversation and I told him that I had really bad bed bugs at my house and it was getting tented. So I think like maybe it was a red flag for him. I was like very openly like, oh
But
my God, I
he's
have bed bugs everywhere, like blah, blah, blah. And he was like, uh huh. And so he dipped.
but what he gave you one last smooch goodbye at the bathroom. Like,
It
did
was
you ever figure
so,
out
yeah, like,
his perspective through it? Like, did you ever get to talk to him about it?
no. And then I ended up like seeing him like maybe like 2 months later and he was with a different girl. And he was like, oh, this is Steffi. She's the funniest person you'll ever meet. I was like, that's news to my ears. Like, remember when you abandoned me and I have trauma issues because of that now? Yeah, I've had a lot of like weird dates where people like very gay to shock. Where one time I was also on a date, very small story, but I was on a date with this guy and we were also like vibing. And then he's like, "Oh, I just got a call. Like my daughter's in the hospital." I was like, "Oh, you have a daughter?" I had no idea. He's like, "Yeah, my wife just called me." I was like, "You have a wife?"
What?
What?
Straight up,
You were on a date with him?
literally on a date, like full blown, like had dinner, everything. We were on the date.
Wow.
He's like, "My
Oh,
wife just called." My
hell
I was like, "Your
no.
ex-wife?" He's like, "No, my real wife." I thought you knew I was married. I was like, "How would I know you were married?"
Are you
What?
kidding? Wait,
LA
also
dating.
the LA dating is so bad. If you're
Unreal.
listening to this, this is a PSA. If you're wanting to date, go somewhere else. All of the girls that were in
That's the solution.
all the girls that were in the line at the bathroom don't know the end of this story. They just know the moment of him coming up and like pinning you to the wall in front of everyone, being like, I couldn't wait to do this. And in their minds, I imagine there's maybe like 5 of them. In their minds, they're like, remember that couple that was like so in love and they were soulmates? And that's the end of their story because they don't know the
Yeah.
rest of the
And
story.
they're like, gosh, I'm looking for that. Like, I
Yeah.
just, you know,
But they
like
don't
that's
know.
passion. That's real. I need that in my life, but they don't know that actually,
And one of those
no.
girls might be listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Honestly,
Like,
hit me up if you
honestly,
want to go to a trauma center together because it was dark.
Yeah, having an
Um,
emotional wave with the expectations and you're on cloud a
yeah,
billion and then it
and with
goes
a
to
house
and
full of
like
then
bed bugs. I mean,
cloud negative a
oh
billion.
my
That's
God.
a rough crash.
this was
Oh,
before my Saturn return. Okay, last question, and we have to wrap it up. What this is real talk. This is the question from Real Talk. What is the ideal age to die?
Oh, we should all
Oh,
answer this.
108.
oh,
108. I mean,
For me, it's 108 is ideal.
depends on the conditions. Like,
Yeah, like how do you die? And are you sick
And is
before you
everyone
go?
around you also
and
dead?
and also, are you like capable in your body? Are you in a nursing home at
Mhm.
108? Like my great aunt, she lived to 109. And
What? That's
Wow.
crazy.
yeah,
Good
but
genes.
yeah, um, crazy. I would say, gosh, a really good age to die. I mean, I just feel like you don't ever die.
Immortal.
Yeah, like you just don't ever die. Like your physical body dies, but you
You
don't. So I'm just
You
like,
transition.
don't. That
You
is the
don't
thing we
yeah,
die.
all three of us know. You don't die. Your soul's always
yeah.
eternal.
So, I
But
mean, the best age to leave this physical body, I don't know. I'm the worst person to ask because
I was
my
gonna say
godhead's in Hades, and we talked about this at
like
the retreats.
yesterday.
That means nothing. Yeah, but I'm in this. I'm very much of the like life isn't real, nothing's real. Like it doesn't matter. Like you should just be enjoying it and transmuting and having alchemy and learning and evolving consciousness, right? So this feels like a very hard question for me because I'm like, I don't know, once you've learned your lessons, like once you've contributed your consciousness to the collective and you feel really good and done and satisfied. Um, yeah, so maybe that's like, I don't know, fucking 25 for some people. And maybe that is 150 for someone who's like
A
gonna
turtle.
freeze themselves and unfreeze
Mhm.
themselves at 150. I don't know. So that's really hard. That's a deep question for me. What's your answer, Steffi?
It's hard too because like I think it would be really fun to make it to 100 and like see where like just make that move and be like, oh, okay, like I've lived 100 years. But I also think if you're happy and healthy and your body is wanting to kind of transition, you got to let in. And so I've had grandparents, where their mind has gone and it's sad. But I don't know. I feel like I would be fine like anywhere from like 88 to 100. I'm just going to range it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love
All
Dana's
right.
simplicity.
Love that
108. Let's
morbid.
just, I'm down
108's
to
great,
just climb onto that train.
especially all of us gals together sipping our
Yeah.
tea and kiving.
Yeah, that would
Um,
be fun at 108.
Dude, I cannot wait to be old. I already can feel like I'm gonna love being an old woman and just
I
standing in my
mean,
garden and dancing with a bird on my head and
by the
just be
time
like
we're
I'm
old, we might
already
be in
that
a
woman.
capsule, like a gel capsule, like
Exactly.
living
That's what
until
True.
I mean.
200.
Like,
To see what
exactly.
changes in 100 years in one person's lifetime is honestly amazing, especially as
That's
we're
so
getting
true.
closer to the center of the universe. We're awakening into this divine feminine era, closer to the new paradigm. Things are literally speeding up. So in our lifetime, if we live to be, let's say, 80 to 100 years old, we're going to see so much change. We already have. It's incredible. And it's such an opportunity to be alive in this time where things are moving so quickly and we get to see so much change. So
Yeah.
thank you,
So it
life.
is.
And so
Yeah.
it is. So,
So
for
it is.
everyone listening who made it to the end of this episode, we always say, you guys are the real ones. You guys are the real ones. And we love you. We want to thank you so much for coming over for this spiritual sleepover because it filled my day with so much love and joy and groundedness to have these conversations with you too. Thank you both for being here. Steffi, I'd love for you to share with all of our listeners, where can people find you and listen to your podcast, and what are the offerings that they can find on your website, etc.?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at spirit_sis, on TikTok, Spirit Sis, and my website is spiritsis.com. And you're listening to the podcast Psychic Scoop podcast. My offerings are going through a little bit of a changing period, and I'm channeling new offerings coming in. But right now, I have all of the astrology courses. If you want to dive in, know your Jupiter return. I have a transit course, astrocartography, and then I also have that intuition course. It's just a 7-day self-paced, very gentle course to kind of reconnect you to your gifts and to kind of up-level your instincts.
I
Hey, how
love
about
it.
you two?
So you can find us on our website, daylunalife.com, on Instagram at Dayluna, and you can find our podcast, the Dayluna Human Design Podcast. and follow along with everything there. But we have our membership, Your Human Design Besties, where we meet every month and we release human design courses every single month. There's a whole library there. So amazing resource to learn human design. So we'd love to see you in there if you feel called to join us. And we also have a training where we teach you everything about human design that you need to start doing readings and start a business and all the things. And what else? We have so many things. We have a book, Your Human Design. You can find it anywhere books are sold. And yeah, we're just human design nerds. But honestly, I'm living for these spiritual sleepovers. And all
Same.
of our besties, whether they're in besties or not, everybody who listens to this podcast and these sleepovers, whatever, anyone who listens to this, whenever you reach out to us, I'm like, you get it. You are us. We are you. We're on the same frequency. And I just love this time. So thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for making it to the end. And we're sending you so much amazing crow on an elephant's back energy, because that
Period.
I'm into it.
Period.
Crow on an elephant's back energy. We're making t-shirts. We're making merch. We're
With-
making bumper stickers.
Eating Hooters wings. The end.
Stop. The crow is, or the elephant? We don't know. The elephant's feeding the crow.
Yeah, maybe
Hooters
it's too
wings.
close to home for the crow to be eating
Maybe
a wing. That
for
got
your-
dark.
Maybe for your baby shower, we should go to Hooters, because
I would
me and
love
Shayna-
that. And honestly, I've been wanting a renaissance for like Chili's Hooters. Anyway, we'll talk about this next time, but please.
Oh my
Sending
God.
love to everyone wherever you're at today. Yeah, energetic hugs. Talk soon.